few weeks ago I received a call from my friend Kyra, asking me to come down to an animal rescue facility and take a few shots of some animals for an upcoming fundraiser. It was only meant to be a quick 30-second trailer to help spruce the event and tug a few heartstrings in the process. Quickly accepting, I punched the address into the GPS with the expectation that it would be out of town somewhere remote. It surprised me to learn it was right in the centre of Albury. I arrived with my family and we walked through the gate, still expecting a very clinical type setup. What I saw was in fact the complete opposite. This was actually someone's home. A woman approached me as I walked through the gate to greet me with a whole bunch of puppies in her arms. She appeared frazzled, exhausted, very stressed, yet smiled and welcomed me and my family into her home. It was at this point I decided to dig a little deeper, to find out why Kyra had introduced her as the Mother Teresa of the animal world. Meet Ella, dressmaker, animal lover.
Hi, I'm Ella Bloomfield. I'm president of Wodonga Animal Rescue. Trish Smith and Alison Press started it 13 years ago. I come on board about 4 months later, just as a foster carer, and started with 2 dogs, and then 3, and then 4. And now I have a few more. So we've never had like a shelter, it's always been in people's homes. So it started off with just 2 dogs here, 2 dogs there, with foster carers like that.
Now I mentioned the woman who approached me looked exhausted. In an average day she gets 2 to 3 hours sleep. The time she's awake is mostly dedicated to caring for the animals, whose lives she's dedicated her whole life to.
I usually start between 5 and 6 in the morning. And it takes me hours I've got to do the litters and feed all the dogs and feed the puppies. I do about 7 loads of washing a day, and I might get a bit of work done, but I usually sew all night. Sometimes I might go 3 and 4 days with no sleep, because I do rescue in the daytime and I work at night, because I have to work. And if I go to bed, it's usually about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up again at 5 and 6.
To me, the idea of bringing an animal into your home is something you do only if you're willing to care for them for the rest of their life. They become a member of your family, something that is not disposable. I was saddened to hear just how many animals were dumped on Ella's doorstep. A
lot are surrendered. People moving house, they can't take them with them, marriage breakups. A lot come from the pound on death row. I've had dogs, I've come out here in the morning, there's a dog in my front yard. I come out here one morning and there was a little green box about 8 inches by 8 inches square, and I went, oh, someone's left me a present. And there were 7 one-week-old kittens in there. No mummy, just kittens. Lucky I had another mummy, I had 2 mummies, and I put half with half. But that's happened many times. There are some genuine cases where they, life has changed and they can't. And they cry when they have to leave their dogs. There are some that just go take the dog, and I had a man pull up on it in a truck, and he grabbed the pup by the back of the neck, chucked it on the ground and said, take this. And I was like, oh gosh. And you know what? It was a beautiful dog. It was a beautiful puppy. So I don't know why people do that. But look, yeah, there are some people who genuinely can't keep their animals. I would get maybe between 50 and 100 calls a day, text messages, for animals, for injured birds, for even at 2 o'clock in the morning I get phone calls for injured kangaroos. A lot of people wanting to surrender. Yeah, every day. The phone never stops. That's why I sew at night. I do have some foster carers that I place, 1 dog here and 1 dog there, but I wear the bulk of it. Yeah. We always need more foster carers, especially big dog carers. I'm desperate for big dog carers.
Unfortunately, a lot of these animals arrive at rescue in very poor condition. They're unregistered, unvaccinated, malnourished, and in general poor health. I asked Ella to share with me the story of Laura, a dog who she attempted to rescue that suffered from an easily avoidable illness called parvo.
Look, a lot of people don't vaccinate their dogs, so there's a lot of parvo around, and parvo is the most cruel, horrific disease there is. They start vomiting, they start diarrhea, they vomit up blood, they can't keep anything down, the whole lining of their stomach comes out, and they are in agony. It is maybe 2% might live, but then they have problems afterwards. All could be saved by vaccination. It's such a cruel disease. I've tried with one dog for 3 days, and it was just so sad. I couldn't stop crying. When I saw the dog, it was just horrific. So it was kinder to let it go. It was terrible. That was, you know.
Yeah.
Cinema views. Take me away from here. Take me away. Take me away, away, away from here.
In New South Wales alone, nearly 18,000 animals enter the pound system on a monthly basis. In 2003, 48% of those were returned to their homes, 22% were adopted to new families, and this left just 30% that went past their allowed time and were unfortunately euthanised. Thanks to the increased efforts of people like Ella and a team at AWOL, this number was reduced to just 5% in 2016, but it's still not enough. I was able to spend some time with Alicia Taylor from Albury Pound, talking about the pound system and the efforts of rescue organisations. The thing that hit me the hardest when chatting to Ella was being told unregistered animals that enter the system are given roughly a week to be rehomed before they face being euthanised.
The pound itself has a very strong relationship with all rescue organisations. I think it's an important key to rehousing animals because a lot of the animals that come through the pound may not find a permanent home with a family in the short amount of time that they actually spend in the pound facility. We run multiple council areas now, which means that they all have different rules and regulations and under different states. So being on the border, you have rules for Victoria and rules for New South Wales. In New South Wales, if they're not identified, which means that they don't have a microchip or collar and tag, they stay for 7 days. If they are microchipped or registered, 14 days. It's hard to talk about because really we don't want to euthanize any animals that there's no behavioural issues. If we don't have rescue or people aren't willing to come and save lives from the pound, our hands are forced at the end to euthanize.
Adoption is a simple process. The only real concern any of these places have is whether or not the adoption will be permanent and the animal will have somewhere safe to live. I was lucky enough to witness a few adoptions while I was in Ella's company. It is nothing short of beautiful watching a dog run into the arms of its new carer, especially knowing that dog has been rescued and adopted by a family that will love it unconditionally.
Okay, so I usually talk to them on the phone, and if they get past that interview, then they come for a visit. And it all depends how they react with the animal, is whether they get a dog or a cat or a dog. And then if they really like each other, I usually say take the dog for a walk, you know, get to know them better. And then I usually check out their yard, have the yard checked out. Yeah. And then we do an adoption agreement. They do get a 3-week trial period for settling in, you know. And then, yeah, it's pretty easy, really.
What about those who passed the 7-day expiry within the pound system? There was one animal that stuck out in my mind. He was there when I arrived at the pound for a number of days already and had suffered quite a large wound on its side, which the pound staff attempted to treat. I decided to pop out to the pound again 14 days later and ask Alicia about how this cat was travelling, to get an idea of the fate of the animals I saw just a fortnight ago.
The white cat was brought in. It did go for a vet check and was deemed that it had quite a nasty side flesh wound which needed some ongoing medical treatment and probably some form of surgery. We were medicating the cat while it was in here, but the wound didn't respond to any of the medication, and we had to make the decision to put the cat to sleep based on the fact that we felt that the cat was suffering and it wasn't fair.
Out of the 18 dogs I counted in the pound on my last trip, I was unable to recognise more than a handful of them during my visit. I asked Alicia where they went and was excited to learn the majority had been placed back in their original homes or adopted out. The ones that approached the end of their life in the pound were given a new lease on life after being rescued, and no animals were put down just because they ran out of time. I asked Alicia about one particular cat that came in while I was filming. It was an unregistered, untagged 7-day visitor.
Staff have temperament tested and the cat's quite rehousable. I mean, it's not an old cat, it's about 4, and it has been previously desexed before coming into the pound, which makes it quite a very eligible pet that we could adopt out. You know, people that don't have a lot of money, it's a big money saver, and someone's already put all the money into desexing it previously, so the pound doesn't mind holding on to animals like this. We just feel that they deserve a chance, you know. So what will happen is we'll hold on to the cat for as long as we possibly can. We'll try and find a home, we'll advertise using our Facebook page, and then we'll contact the rescues if we fail. That cat will not be euthanized here.
This mini doco has been one of the hardest emotional yet fulfilling short films I've made due to the nature of the topic. My first view was quite simple yet naive. If animals are not given a permanent home, they are euthanized. To be invited to dive deeper within the world of animal rescue and learn that the pound isn't just a kill factory, rather a group of animal lovers that are forced into a position run by legislation and capacity. That animal rescue organisations are the front line fighting the laws and legislation and allowing further capacity to the already overcrowded pound systems by placing animals into temporary homes in order to find new forever homes. And that people can care so deeply about animals that they will dedicate their entire lives to care for these forgotten souls. I take my hat off to Ella and Alicia and everyone else involved in animal rescue. Not everyone can do what you do. You show true empathy, and what you do to help these animals is nothing short of miracle work. So what now? If you have the capacity to invite a new furry friend into your home, or considering a pet, don't go to a breeder. Please contact your local rescue organisation. Adopt an animal and save a life. Give them the forever home they deserve.